Whatever you do, don't drive your car. Let's get started. That's what was told to the customer who owns this 2011 smart car. And the end result, what actually was wrong, really isn't even a problem, and there was no reason not to drive the car. Today we're going to talk about scams. As we're moving into 2024 or into the future even further than that, scams are becoming more and more prevalent in all industries and all different walks of life. Today we're going to talk about some of the things that I've seen or I've heard stories about and actually experienced in the shop, and also a quick story on this smart car. The customer had a warning light on the dash that said system warning. They took it to a local shop and they told them all kinds of slew things are wrong. It's going to be expensive. Don't drive your car. It's kind of like a scare tactic type thing. And rather than fall for the trick, the customer said, I think I've heard about this Omega shop. I'd like to get a second opinion. And I'm so glad they did, because it's not going to be super expensive. And there was no reason why she couldn't drive her car. I'll go grab Grimes real quick. He actually checked this thing over, and then he can discuss to us what he found. Sweet, okay. Not that much. Okay, is that good?
Yeah.
So according to the customer and what they heard, the end of the world was coming for this car. You can't drive it. It's going to be disastrous. Even the daughter was scared, like, oh my God, this thing's going to blow up. But what you found actually was kind of mundane.
Yeah, it was pretty simple. So when I pulled codes, I saw that it had a ton of events listed as low voltage, a ton of CAN communication errors. And on newer cars like this, especially Mercedes, if the battery dies or you replace the battery, a lot of the control modules kind of freak out and they'll throw those codes. Mm-hmm. Went to the SRS control unit, saw that everything was working correctly. It was happy with all the resistance of the airbags. Went ahead and cleared the codes. One was persistent with the Autel, so we had to dig out the dinosaur. And once I cleared that, verified everything, took it for a test drive, multiple key cycles, it all kind of went away.
So there, like he was saying, there was one code that had to have the actual Star Diagnostics Mercedes software, which we have here in the shop, to clear it. And once we got that cleared, which was just triggered, like he mentioned, from a low voltage event or something with a battery change, a battery died, they put a new battery in, but all these codes are still there. There was really nothing dangerous or nothing wrong. After Grimes cleared it, we've driven it a few times already, and it's been pretty happy, huh?
Yeah, nothing pending, no current faults. Nothing.
So it's not going to blow up?
No.
We shouldn't tell them not to drive it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to blow up.
You don't think it's going to blow up? Okay, well, thanks for running us through that. Yeah. And I got a few more things to talk about. I'll let you head back to break.
Yes.
Thanks. So keep in mind, the owner of this car was an older lady. And I don't know if they thought they would get one over on her. But I've also seen lately, especially with the smart cars, most shops, even some European shops, just don't want to touch these cars. They absolutely hate them. They don't want to touch them. And any way that they can find an avenue to get your car out of their shop, I don't want to look at your smart car. I don't want to see it. I don't know why they're that way. It's just a Mercedes-Benz underneath, and they're actually very simple to work on. Everyone that's been in the shop, which has been like 20 of them, we've never had major catastrophe. We've never had cursing, angry mechanics. It actually always went fairly smooth and a happy customer afterwards. So I don't know why all the hate on the smart cars, but this one is solved. Like I mentioned, we drove it a few times, no warning lights. Grimes scanned for the entire car for any codes, and there were none. It is completely happy now. So just an hour diagnosis and connecting the scan tool, road testing, just an hour is all we have into it, and they'll be out the door, cruising in their car. It didn't take $3 and $5 and $7 grand, and it wasn't hard. Now I've got a whole slew of stories I want to tell you guys. Some of the things you should look out for if you go to any kind of a quick lube or the local shop or anything local to you, that are some definite red flags you need to pay attention to, because It may be a shop trying to sneak one in on you. All right, ma'am, we took a look at your car. We took the oil filter off. We poured some of the oil out, and there was just metal shavings. You're going to need a new engine.
Really? That seems, are you sure that's my oil filter?
Well, yeah, we pulled it off of your vehicle.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't it running in the shop right now, though?
No, it's not running.
I think I hear it in the background.
No, you might be hearing things. This isn't one off of your car.
Really? Because my husband, who's a real mechanic, gave me this as the old one to make sure I got the right one.
Oh, that's the one that came off the car?
Kind of, yeah.
Let me go get the service manager. I'll be right back. Mrs. Wizard theoretically brought a car to a shop that has a little oil filter like this, and here I come out with a big oil filter full of metal shavings trying to sell them a new engine. It doesn't even go to that car. And when she called me out on it, oh, I got to go get the service manager and let's rework this. Let's figure this out. It's stumbling. They don't know what they're saying. I've seen this happen in real life. This isn't a made-up scenario. It really has happened, and I've heard it multiple times from friends and family members. The same things have happened to them as well. Make sure you kind of understand the basics of your car, like what kind of oil filter does it have? Because you can get taken for a ride very quickly. My brother has actually been ripped off by over $1,300 from a quick lube place, and none of it needed to be done. After I researched it and looked at his invoice, I was like, man, bro, you really got took on this one. You should have called me. They can really take you for a ride. So let's do one more scenario. All right, man, we removed your fuel filter and actually dumped some of it out. There was a lot of dirt. You're going to need the Platinum Fuel Service. You're going to need a full flush, a new fuel filter, and we're also going to have to remove the injectors and go through and also do a major service there. This is going to be about $1,600.
Wow, that's quite the fuel filter. My husband, who's a real mechanic after all, says we use the paper filter. She even had an extra one at the house. I thought maybe if it was a problem, I was going to let you use it.
Oh, your vehicle's a diesel. That's right. It takes the little cartridge paper. Let me go talk to my service manager and see what we got mixed up here. I apologize for that.
Yeah, right, buddy.
This actually happened to one of my uncles. He took his Camaro in. It was kind of vice versa. He knew that it took this fuel filter. He changed it out himself probably a few months before the service. He took it in for an oil change. And they came in with something completely not even to his car. He was like, I don't know where you got that filter. Go put it back on the shelf. Only an oil change and get my car. He was almost yelling at them, get my car out of here. No more games. He kind of knew they were playing one on him. So the thing that they're holding up, that they come into the lobby and try to scare you with and showing you metal shavings in this, it may not even go to your car. They may have grabbed it off the shelf that came from some other car and said, I think I can use this to jack this up. It's called upselling. There's a lot of shops that sell anymore, or managers and things in large dealerships. When a car comes into the dealership, there should be always opportunities to upsell. Get them the service, get them that service. And turn your $300 bill into a $1,000 bill on a bunch of unnecessary services. If you brought your vehicle in just for an oil change, you did not authorize them to be taking stuff off your car. If they start doing this to say, I didn't tell you to take that off my car, put it back on, or wherever you got that, finish the oil change and park my car outside. No other services, no games. That's kind of how you handle that. I've actually seen in the comments several people say Car Wizard acts like he's the only act in town that's a good mechanic out there. Maybe not all in the whole country, but in this scenario here, this customer had to come all the way from western Kansas, quite a drive, to get the second correct opinion, because they knew something wasn't right. They're going to be had if they go with this game. So let's take it to Omega, and I'm glad they did. And this is happening not just once every few months. It's once or twice a week, every week, 52 weeks a year. It's really, really sad. We've had so many vehicles in the shop where there's so many new parts. I've got $3,000 into this car. It's still not fixed. It's still making the noise. And we ended up fixing it, and it was a $50 part that really wasn't that big of a deal. And the customer's like, where did all this other stuff come in? It's called the parts cannon. Oh, it's making this noise. I think it's that. Let's try this. No, it didn't work. Okay, well, let's try this other thing. Oh, that didn't work either. Let's try this other thing. ScanTool said it was this sensor, so we put the sensor on. It didn't fix it, so we don't know what to tell you. Well, did you dive in and look at data and look at some of the sensor data, voltages, grounds, and things? Oh, no, we didn't do that. Actually, our daughter just had an issue with her boyfriend's car where they took it to a shop. This is 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's still not fixed. They did the parts cannon because the wheels are locking up. They said, we'll try calipers. Oh, we'll try brake hoses. We'll try a master cylinder. We'll try a power module. We'll try an ABS module. And finally, the mechanic himself that was working on it talked to the service writer at this shop and said, I'm done. I've thrown every part I know at this, and it's still not fixed. There's the problem. You're throwing parts at it. Luckily, no muffler Newton. Thank you. I hope you don't wreck.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. It sounded really fast. Luckily, they didn't charge him. They were actually decent in that avenue, but how much time was wasted? And I talked to my daughter's boyfriend. Was like, I could have put that car on the lift, broke the bleeder screws loose, and see if the wheels spin free. And I would have known probably in 10 minutes exactly what's wrong with your car without ordering a single part. It didn't get brought here because he's kind of a ways away. They got their own mechanic that they trusted, a different mechanic. They tried them out. And it looked like it was going to be very expensive to fix, and they just stopped right there. But the amount of time that was wasted, it was just really, really sad. Another thing you really want to remember when you go to a shop, don't tell them, just fix it, just do it and call me when it's done. Always say, call me with an estimate what you find, then we'll decide where we go from there. You guys have seen this Land Rover, the dash is out. You've recently seen a video on it actually. It's a major, major meltdown in the main body harness. We got the pre-approval. We called the customer and said, this is going to be $2-3 grand. It's going to be very expensive. And the customer, being made aware of what they're dealing with, gave us the approval and said, well, I want it fixed. Let's go ahead and do it. And Grimes has been working really hard. So far, he's got a huge nest he's replaced already of all these melted wires. Tons and tons of melted wires. He's working one by one, going through the harness and making sure he doesn't miss anything so that when we go back together, all the wires will be happy, they're not short-circuiting, and this vehicle will be back on the road. But can you imagine, we didn't call the customer until it was done and said, oh, well, yeah, it's $3,750. What? Why didn't you call me? That happens so much. We have customers come in and say, my car's still not fixed, I'm $2 or $3 grand into it. They didn't even ask me for approval. They just did it and charged me. I'm just like, how does this happen so much? So always tell the shop, don't fix anything until you get an estimate. Then call me. We'll move forward from there. If you're halfway through the job, you find out more needs to be fixed, call me. We'll work through this. It's not that I don't want my car fixed. I just need to know as we're going along, what can I expect at the end when I have the final bill. That's definitely an area where you can be scammed because they'll sneak things in there onto the bill that you don't know what they did. They didn't even talk to you about it. They just said, here's the bill, pay it, here's your car back. That's really a bad way to do business, but it's happening a lot. Here we are at Hoovie's truck, and no, we don't have any issues with Hoovie or anything like that. He's been bringing his cars here for years, and it kind of reminds me, we have a customer who's a pastor of a large church, a local church. One thing that always happens, because he lives quite a distance away, is he'll go to the dealership for an oil change, and they'll have literally a 2-page list of all these bushings need replaced, all this needs replaced, this is bad, this is bad. And he'll email me and say, what do you think about this stuff? And I'll say, well, bring it in, we'll take a look. I would say 90% of the time, it's just hogwash. On something like a sway bar bushing, there might be the tiniest little crack. I mean, almost you need a magnifying glass. Does that warrant a tear down and a major bill? No. But they just want to work up the bill. If it even looks like it, even tiniest bit looks like it needs to be replaced, they're going to put it on there and say, oh, you got to get it done. Your car could get damaged if you don't get this taken care of. No, it won't be damaged. Really get to a reputable shop and see if they can figure out what things you really need, not what they want you to get fixed. There's been many times in videos where we filmed here where there's this tiniest little leak. It's not worth a $900 bill and it's not even dripping or pouring or anything. It took years to get to that point. It doesn't need a $900 bill to fix it. It'd be something like this CV shaft that's on the Raptor here. And they'll pry really hard on the boots and find some tiny weather checking. Little tiny little cracks. There's nothing leaking. There's no issues. There's no safety concerns. And they'll say, yep, you need a new CV shaft, the whole thing. We need to replace all of it. You've got cracks in it. And the cracks are almost microscopic. Let me show you what a real cracked boot looks like. That is a cracked boot that needs a new CV shaft. Not one that you need a magnifying glass to find it. That type of mentality can be used on any suspension components. Control arm bushings, sway bar bushings, shock bushings, CV boots, rack and pinion boots, all kinds of things. I just think sometimes how many parts have been replaced in the last 5 years that still had 80% of their life left. There was nothing wrong with them. And how many hundreds of thousands of dollars have been lost. So that's kind of what got me thinking to make a video like this. With the hour of labor, they got a scan tool hooked to it, a professional level, actually the dealer scan tool. They got their battery checked. They got the charging system checked, the airbag system checked, 3 road tests. They got actually probably got 2 hours worth of work out of the deal, but only charged them for 1. And no surprise bill at the end. It's fixed. The only fix it needed was the system reset after a battery change. That's it. So there was nothing to be afraid of driving this vehicle. There was no reason to tell a customer they should not be driving their vehicle. I don't know why they tried to use that scare tactic. It's really kind of low.
That's extra mean to scare a nice little old lady.
Yeah, scare them. You need to spend this money or you can't drive your car. No. That's not very, especially around Christmas, come on. We'll get this tube back to the customer and they can drive it back home safely because there was no reason why they couldn't drive it in the first place. But definitely wanted to get a video out there for you guys because I'm seeing the scams on the rise. It's becoming more of a problem. Make sure to kind of be on your game and be on your toes when you go to any kind of shop, local shop. It doesn't matter what they do. Most shops can be pretty reputable, but there's a few out there that are not. So if you're curious what kind of tools we use in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. Lots of great gift ideas there. If you buy anything, we get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to check out Mrs. Wizard's Ways. She's got another video uploaded there. Tons of really cool videos going on her channel. And make sure to hit the subscribe button here because more cars just came into the door today, which means more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.